Welcome to the jungle, everybody.
I forgot about the reset button. I was gonna start talking and then it kicked on. It like did its little resetting thingamajiggy.
Yeah, where it goes to black and then pops up.
Fade to Black. Wasn't that a Jay-Z album?
I don't know. See, I there's a little sad secret that I have to let everybody know. I'm not proud of this, but I was never a big album buyer. You know what I'm saying? Like I was the kind of dude to go on LimeWire back in the day,
Yeah.
and before that, like Napster,
Yep.
and just like get the individual songs I like. Like I don't think in my entire life I've ever listened to an entire album.
No, there has to be an album
I
you
swear,
listen.
bro.
Really? Not even like
Swear.
there was, and I know we spoke about this, but there was like 50 Cent and Kanye had a time where they were going like at it. Like I can recite some albums. Like if you play a song from an album, I'll know what the next shit'll be just because I've heard it so many times and on even on like mixtape CDs.
See, for me, the only ones where I would like know the next song is
Mhm.
when I would burn a CD
Yeah.
back in the day, and I'd have my songs that I like on there, and so I would know the next one based off that. But I swear to you, man, I've never like sat down and listened to a full album.
It's hard because like on albums, like everyone's lying when they say like start to finish, there's albums that are just like there's always going to be an ass song in an album. Like there's not going to be a banger after banger after banger. There's a reason why people went to Napster, went to LimeWire to mix together like all the hottest singles. Because if you ever look at an album or like a CD or whatever on iTunes now or Apple Music, wherever the fuck you listen to your music, there's usually a little star next to like the hottest song. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's 4 songs that'll have like a star next to it, which is like this shit is the banger. You might just want to click this one. So like the first song is always going to be some intro, some like, some like guy talking. This is usually like a hip hop rap album. But even on like some country shit, I can envision them like opening it up with like a Bob and Rick sitting in like a pickup truck, just like, hey man, you don't go down to the lake today and drink some Budweisers and then like they talk for 2 minutes, and it's usually a quick little skit. But then the first song is like Billy and Rick end up fucking down by the lake or some shit like that. But there's never gonna be like there's just not banger after banger after banger after banger on an album. So I don't like blame you when you say you haven't listened to a whole album, because even when I do it, I'm like, this shit is sort of whack, and I know for next time like just skip to the songs with the stars next to them.
It's not a thing that ever occurred to me as like a thing to do. Like I often think about, oh, I should binge watch a TV series. Like I should watch a show from beginning to end in like one sitting. I
Mhm.
often think that. I've never once in my life thought, damn, I like this artist. I should listen to everything on that album in one sitting. It never has occurred to me because for me, I feel like I'm very picky with what I like and don't like.
Mhm.
And it's even possible where like you're kind of saying now, like I could like a song from an artist and then just hate another one from that same artist.
Exactly.
So even like there are the rare ones where it's like a 80% chance I'm gonna like it, but
Mhm.
still every now and then they'll throw one out where I'm just like, what were you doing?
Yeah. It's just like they need fillers. I mean, like, it's not easy probably to
No,
like.
it's super hard to get to think about how hard it is to make a song, Corin. Like to make a song and then you have to make the beat and then you have to get the lyrics right and then you have to get like the melody and the rhythm of it. Like you just
And
there's
it
so
can't be
many.
similar to like something else on the track. Like it's got to be a different beat with different piano keys and shit. And there's only a certain number of piano keys.
Yeah, and you're the same person, so your mind tends to go down similar tracks. Like for me, if you look at how I present a story and how I talk, the formulation is the same almost every time.
Hmm.
Like the way I set it up and then the way I talk about it, there's like an ebb and a flow to it. But I don't have to adjust that flow because I could just go with my normal flow and just explain what's happening. For an artist, you can't go with the same flow. You have to like switch up the whole flow,
Hmm.
which is hard for somebody because people have tendencies in terms of what they gravitate towards. But the question that I have is I would like to ask an artist, like a top level artist, do they view all of their songs kind of like as their babies? So even one that everybody kind of
Nah.
universally agrees is whack, would they be like, nah, like I love that song, even though other people don't get it? For me, I get it. Like it's hitting the spot for me, even though other people might not see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think if an artist was being real, they would be like, that shit is ass, but I'm gonna just put it on the album. Like, I'm sure you get the same feeling with like tweeting. Like, whenever you tweet something, like I still remember this back at my wedding or some shit like that. One of my boys was like, "Yo, like when you tweet some shit, just people fuck with it," and you were like, "Yeah, I mean, like it's usually good shit or something like that." And he was like, "Can I just tweet out some shit?" And you were like, "Sure." And I think he put out like I like turtles or some shit like that. And Joe Rogan did the same thing one time. He put up on Instagram, it was just like a picture of the table, like of a wooden table or something. And it didn't have a caption, or it might have had a caption, but then his next photo was like, I'm at dinner, whatever, at a fancy restaurant, and one of my friends was like, "Can I just put a photo up and just see blah blah blah?" So I think I don't even know the fucking point I'm trying to make, but like anything you put up, more or less, people are gonna fuck with it because they fuck with you. So like it's the same thing with an artist. Is like they're gonna put it out. People might fuck with it, but if they were to ask the artist like, "Yo, track 7 was," they'd be like, "That shit was sort of bunsies." Like
See,
like
that you're making an interesting point though, because the example of tweeting, apart from that experience that you're talking about, which I remember when somebody
mhm.
was like, yo, you say anything and people love it, and I see the numbers and blah blah blah. And then you're right, he was like, what if I tweeted I love turtles, would you like retweet it? I was like, yeah, why not? And then he did it and I retweeted it. But my point is, in my mind, when I'm saying something on Twitter,
Mhm.
it's almost like all the things I'm saying are on point to me. Like
Yeah.
even if it's
Uh,
something that somebody else might be like, damn, I sort of don't like what you said here, I'd be like, really? Because in my mind, I thought I nailed that.
but you're not. So here's the difference between Twitter and you tweeting. You're not required to tweet some shit. Like you don't have to if you don't
No.
really want
Mm-mm.
to. On an album, you've got slots to fill. Like
Yeah,
you have to put. You can't just put out. There's no more singles anymore. I'm sorry. Like, and here's why I think I'm making a strong case for myself, which is sort of gangster. But back in the day, albums used to be like 20 songs long because they thought like they just had to put out an album of 20 songs and they were trying to just fill whatever time allotment that they needed for an album. Now you see if like an artist is at a stature where they know they're the shit, like a Kanye West or Chance the Rapper does this now, or Kendrick Lamar, the albums will be like 7 songs or 6 songs or something like that because they know that those are the shits that are gonna fucking bang. Like,
right.
whereas in the
Yeah.
past, a Kanye West album is probably like 22 songs or some shit, whereas like 7 of them are just some skit of him like in a barbershop cursing or some shit. So like I think as we've evolved, we've started to realize like just chop out all the bullshit. And it's the same shit as the evolution with newspapers. No one's got time to read these long ass, like you said before, read these long ass cumbersome articles of big ass words and shit that doesn't like relate to anybody. Give me that shit in whatever Twitter is, 60 characters or less, whatever the fuck you're allowed to do.
So I'm interested in everybody's process. Like you just described, I'm sure there are some artists where the stuff will just come to them and then they'll go to the studio and be like, this beat came to me and now we're going to make it happen in the studio. And then they could just like almost on a regular basis, maybe on a weekly basis, just go in there and it just like it happens. It just kind of comes together. And then there are other artists who might like have to sit down and give themselves time to themselves to like force themselves to focus to come up with something. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like I'm interested in everybody's process in terms of how they get from point A to point B because I know that in my field, whether you talk to me or you talk to David Dowell or you talk to um, Humanist Report or you talk to Jimmy Dore, like, or you talk to Rising with Crystal and Sagar, like they all probably have their own process, which is very different from my process in terms of how they come up with their stories and how they figure out which things to talk about. And
Mhm.
like, does it come daily when they're going through Twitter and they see some stuff? Oh, I'm gonna cover that. Oh, I'm gonna cover that. And it just kind of comes together naturally, or do they have to say, I'm going to have to take an hour and a half or 2 hours, sit down, specifically make time to try to find stuff and then do it that way. And then like some people would probably throughout the course of the day, I'm going to just do a video whenever I come up with the idea for a video. Other people like me, you have to designate the block for the show where it's like, this is the time of my show. This is when I will show up and do it. I'm not doing it like throughout the day. There is no show, but if I'll make one video in the morning and then I find something in the late afternoon that I like and I'll make another video then. So what I'm curious about is everybody's process, whether they're a writer, whether they're an artist like a singer, you know, whether they're a comedian, whatever it might be, the process on how they get from A to B. Because I think what's interesting is that people do it very, very differently. Mm-hmm. You know, like even the best athletes of all time, I'm sure they all have very different approaches. And I'm sure that like you could find some like Michael Jordan. He just always was practicing, busting his ass, and he knew like, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to outwork you. That's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. But then there are other people who are so good. The classic example is John Daly, the golfer, fat, alcoholic, and just straight up raw talent. Never practiced. He said, when I practice, I get worse. So I don't practice.
I agree
Never
with that.
practiced and was just so naturally good that even Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of all time, told John Daly one time when John Daly was drinking a beer and he said to Tiger, hey, Tiger, come have a drink with me. And Tiger looked at John Daly and said, if I was as naturally good as you, I probably would have a beer with you right now, but I'm going to practice and work out.
Yeah.
So it's just some people have that natural ability. Some people have to work for it. Some people are a mix of, I think LeBron is probably an example of both. He's so naturally talented. Plus he works really hard on top of it. Mm-hmm. It's just everybody's process is something that's always interested me.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that some of the like best artists I've ever seen or worked with in marketing is like, they're very just eccentric. They work on their own time. It's actually pretty frustrating to work with some of these artists because it's just like they don't respond and they don't do things. And it's like, then you have a conversation with someone. It's like that's just them. Like they don't respond. But it's like, nah, sort of fuck that, because if like you're creating something, I don't know. There shouldn't just be like,
you're saying for your job,
not for my job, but also like. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess, like...
I missed the first part. What were you saying about these
just people? Like these creative, like, artist people that just... I like, there's no timeline to their work. And it's just, like, it could take them 8 years, and they create this masterpiece. And, you know...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It could have got created in 2 weeks if you look at what it looks like. I don't know. I mean, just... It's all depends on who's listening, who's watching. Like, I'm sure there's people that listen... I really don't think anybody can write in the comment section an album from start to finish that like just has hit after hit. But then there's probably someone out there that like appreciates every song on an album because they did put time into it. And even if it wasn't as much time as a banger, they still spent some time on it. And it's an artist that they respect. So it's like, I could be mad at someone because it took them 8 years to create a piece of art. And I could have thought it took them 2 weeks. But if you talk to them, they could be like, no. This part right here is, you know, this took me 4 years to go to Brazil and actually find out like what an eye looks like or some crazy shit.
There are old school people who like listening to full albums, and they'll hit you with like Pink Floyd was amazing and you got all of it's a work of art. And there are old school people who sit down and listen to entire albums. But I'm curious if the people in our generation are more like me where they just don't do that and they've never done that. Like but I'm also just not that much of a music dude. Like
there are some Backstreet Boys, like the Backstreet Boys Millennium album, like that blue CD. I think they're like all on the cover in some white like tuxedo suit things. That album that shit hits hard. Like,
I guarantee you there's at least one song on that I do not know.
Probably, but you would listen to it and be like, yo, did you hear track 9? It's like, it's some crazy shit, but it's good. That I will honestly say, I think that, and I think Mariah Carey might have one CD where like my sister had it, and I always used to steal that shit from her. And it was like Mariah in like a dress, and it was like a white background, I think, to the CD. But every song, it was like, it would just be boom, boom, and then it would come on with like the Old Dirty Bastard shit, and it was like, damn, and I don't even remember. I'm going to look up what album it was, but Mariah Carey had an album. NSYNC had one album. It was like the purple and yellow joint. It was like, That was like the CD was like purple and yellow, and it was like the hip like you're getting hypnotized. It was just like
NSYNC
purple, then
album.
yellow, and then purple, then yellow.
I'm looking right now. Hold on. I
I
want
think
to
there
try to
was one
find
with
it.
like no, Bye 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 was on a different one. But Backstreet Boys, Mariah Carey, and NSYNC all had bangers, and I'll look up what the albums were. But
Mariah Carey had a lot of like singles that I was like, damn, she really freaked it with this one.
But yeah, there's no. The albums back in the day that people listen to on like records are probably good because if you listen to like Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd and all that stuff, all of that music, like you could play track 2 to track 3 and they would all just mesh together. It all sounds the same.
Yeah. And that's distinctly different from our experience with this stuff because you're saying, you're used to and I'm used to track 1, track 2, track 3, all different songs.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right that back then it was more of like the whole thing was a work of art. And the other thing is, most of those people back then, they were high as balls, dog, when they were making these albums. And like, I think the part of the experience was that you were supposed to take like LSD or something and listen to the album. And then like, maybe that's the trick. I've never done psychedelic drugs and I'm scared of them to tell the truth to everybody because I don't want to lose my grip on reality at all. But maybe that's the thing is if you were to take it and listen to certain kinds of music, that it hits different. Because one of the things people always say when it comes to those kinds of substances is that they make your senses kind of like mesh, where you could feel a smell. You know what I'm saying? Like your senses kind of mesh together where they're no longer separate, and it's just a totally different, weird experience. So maybe that's the trick. And it's 'cause
I sort of get that with like when they used to have the old school like Herbal Essence shampoo, or like there was another company that like that shampoo, there was like a kiwi strawberry, like the coconut flavor.
Bro.
Like it used to smell so good that I would my senses would just come over me and I would just be like, I need to buy that flavor and I need to buy
flavor.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like it almost made me want to like if I was a kid, you'd want to eat the shampoo, like the L'Oreal for Kids, in that little green,
with the kiwi,
with the red top,
the
watermelon used to smell so banging, and I think that's probably why I like watermelon Snapple. Because I don't even eat watermelons, but all the flavored shit that I eat is watermelon. I think it relates back to like those L'Oreal for Kids. So whatever was in that shit, it couldn't have been good for my hair. Because it just smelled too banging. It just wasn't good. Like my daughter has a Play-Doh. It's like some organic Play-Doh.
I like the old school smell in Play-Doh, bro.
Nah, not the old school smell.
I like that. I mess with the old school smell in Play-Doh. The other thing I like is nail polish remover smell. That explains a lot about my mental damage.
That shit can't be good for you at all.
Yeah, hell no. When I was a kid and my sister was using it, I'd just be like...
You know what I sort of rock with?
What's that?
Sometimes, like a smelly ass fart will do it for me.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. But like gasoline, I used to really like.
Oh, hell yeah.
That was
I like gasoline. It's not on the same level as Play-Doh for me. And it's not on the same level of the funny thing is the exact shampoos you're describing are the exact ones in my childhood that I remember smelling them and being like, oh.
Yeah.
There was Herbal Essences, the one that you're talking about, like the kid one.
L'Oreal for Kids.
Amazing. And then there was this like coconutty one from Harmon's, the pharmacy.
Yeah. They sell those at the dollar store now. It's like it's in a bottle like this. It's like just like a chilling ass bottle, and it was like a jizz colored
jizz colored OD.
Like not for nothing. Anything like jizz colored is usually banging. Like the Gatorade flavor, and then the coconut, and I don't really know anything else, but those two things that's 2 for 2 right there.
I mean, milkshakes can be kind of jizzy colored.
That is true.
Flavored.
No, but for real, The coconut flavor shampoo back in the day must have been so bad for your hair and like so bad for just your body.
It was
But
worth it.
they knocked it out of the park with that smell.
Oh, so good. Oh my God. So yeah, those smells got me. But gasoline I always kind of liked, but never as much as the nail polish remover might have been on the top for me. Like there's something about the smell of the nail polish remover where I was just like, I want to snort all that shit. As a kid, I was like, I want to snort that shit.
Yeah, I don't. I think that would like give me a headache more than anything.
It probably gave me one, and I just didn't give a shit. I think it is it like acetone. I think it's acetone. Let me look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Could be. I don't know.
I'm
But
just gonna type
yeah,
in nail
like
polish remover.
I think that's what like nail salons smell like when you go in there. They just have like
Little
that
bit,
permanent smell, you know?
little bit. Nail polish remover. Okay, hold on.
But yeah, L'Oreal for Kids probably. I don't know if they're around anymore. They might still be almost.
Yeah, acetone is a powerful solvent that removes nail polish quickly and easily, but can be drying to the cuticles. Non-acetone polish removers contain ethyl acetate or ethyl ketone as their active ingredients. So yeah, back in the day, it was probably all acetone nail polish remover. I like the smell of it. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but I was like, it would just immediately make me be like, damn, I want to snort that. I was a little drug addict as a kid before I even knew what drugs were. There was one time me and my dad, like my dad had me come over to his place because, sometimes like dads will just straight up treat their children like slaves.
Yeah.
That's what he did with me. He'd be like, I need your help, son. You got to come over. You got to help me with something. And it would
I
be
think I
like,
remember that one time we were just chilling and your dad was like, I need you to come over and help me build Mount Rushmore or some shit. And you were like,
it was all the time. Like he would have me come over maybe once every 2 or 3 months just to move his couch from point A to point B. And then the next month he would have me come and move it right back to the same spot I had it before. And at some point I just pulled on him. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like pick a spot and that's where we're keeping your damn couch. But there was one time where he had me come over and he wanted to paint something. So I think we used like spray paint for it.
mm.
We got high as
Did you have mask on and stuff?
I think we didn't because we're idiots.
Yeah, I've never put a mask on in my life, like painting or anything, which is probably really bad.
Yeah, so I got super high off that. There's something about those chemically things that just hit weird.
Yeah, I can't do it. I mean, like it gives me a headache, and I hate even doing any type of manual labor shit. Like we need to get the outside of my house painted. Ma was like, "You could do it," and I was like, "Fuck no!" Like,
Wait, she said
extent of the
that?
shit
Yeah. Molly, come on, you know Corin. How could you even say that?
I'm saying, I've gotten to a point where I'm picking shit up with the grabber, you know, like the long shit, and you like reach down and pick it up.
Peak laziness. You're already at senior citizen level laziness.
I don't like to exert too much energy doing anything.
You got that Trump philosophy. Remember when Trump said there were articles talking about how Trump believes that humans are like a battery. So the more stuff you do, the more you're wasting your life energy. And then one day you die because you wasted through all your life energy. So you try to do as little as possible to live as long as possible in this philosophy.
That's why I was like, I never had stress in my life really, and I don't have stress with my daughters, but like obviously I get stressed more and frustrated when they're not listening or something like that. So now I'm starting to see gray hairs and shit like that. Whereas before I didn't have to worry about anything.
Or is that genetics?
100%. I don't
really?
Yeah.
Because I had white hair when I was mad young. Like I started getting it in my late teens, and I wasn't stressed.
But like you, I don't know, like I don't know, but like you're reading political stories and shit like that, like
I'm talking about my late teens, dog. I wasn't too political back then.
Yeah, I guess.
So, but the thing is, I know that in my family, my mom that young started going gray. So like it's in the family to some extent, you know? Maybe there are some environmental triggers, but I felt like no matter what I did, even if I was totally stress free, my hair still would have started going white early.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like stress plays a factor in some shit, like acne and like, like, so
It's
it's
got to be
like,
both. It's got to be
yeah,
both genetics and environmental. It can't just be one. Like I don't think it's just the stress. I think that if you're seeing white hair now, even if you had no stress, you would have white hair by age like 40.
yeah. Either way, it sucks. I mean,
You're
not that it
telling me. I've
sucks,
been
like,
dyeing my hair since I was like 19 or 18 or something.
but like at the end of the day, like Molly or someone would be like, "Oh, there's a gray." I'm like who the fuck cares anymore about like anything? Like, like
Now, I'm
I
a little
really
bit of a fundamentalist about the hair thing because it's
hair is my
so,
shit too. I'll always put some gel in my hair or something like that.
yeah, but like hair is one of those things where if you dye it, you immediately look younger. Like there's no question about it. Like now there are some instances where if you're a really old dude, you can't just dye it like a dark color because everybody knows it's not right. But like you still got to hook it up with something. You can't just leave it totally white because then you look like you're about to die in 7.5 minutes. And I don't care what anybody tells you. Like you'll hear women say like, "Oh, a guy who's whatever 40 plus, like, oh yeah, looks distinguished. Like the guy looks distinguished with his gray hair. He looks old.
Yeah,
He looks
when
old.
Steve Carell, I think one day came on a late night show with his hair like straight gray as fuck, and everyone was like, "Silver fox, silver fox." I was just like, he looked better with his shit like black.
No,
Like, don't
yeah,
try and just
exactly.
say
Hmm.
like his shit is like silver. Like that's not even a real color. Like that his shit shouldn't be that color. Like, just dye this shit. Like, there's
Yeah.
no shame
Just
in.
get a shade that's reasonable that looks real enough and then dye it that color.
Yeah, there's a guy that I always see when I'm walking to the train or before Corona, who he's got the Mr. Wonderful shit from Shark Tank, like like the U cut with no hair here,
Mm-hmm.
but he did the Carlos Boozer, and his shit is straight spray painted in that like it looks. It's the weirdest. It's the weirdest hair I've ever seen in my life, and like
He's got to
it's
get
not even
that
hair.
hair surgery he needs.
It's almost like he did hair surgery because it's not like spray paint, but it looks like an old lunch lady's like net shit, like but like not risen up, but like on his hair in that voided space. It's mad weird. Like I want to stop him one day and just like ask him about that shit. Like I'd love to do an interview with him for like 15 minutes on just how he came upon doing that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to take a look at the exact dude too because I
Yeah.
want to know what it looks like so I could
No.
get a sense of what he did. But yeah, I feel like the surgeries have gotten better over the years. You know what I mean? Like if you try to get hair surgery 30 years ago, it was probably buns. But now they might have it perfected enough where, I mean, if they could do ass jobs, they could do hair. But the thing is, it takes a minute where to do it the right way, where they got to take hair from the back,
Mhm.
the follicles from the back, and move them to the front. Like it's a complicated and a long process to get, hair plugs or whatever it's called, or the whatever surgery they use now.
Yeah. It's it's cool to see how things like progress like that, but like
It's
it
all
also sucks
cosmetic
for like
stuff. It is more developed than actual healthcare shit. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they came up with dick pills before they came up with a cure for cancer.
Yeah, well what is there more money in people getting like breast job? Like a
Well, maybe, but they really stumbled across the dick pills. They actually were testing for something else. They were testing for some sort of, I don't know if it was heart medication or something, and then they found that everybody's dick was getting hard when they took it, and they were like, "Oh, okay, so this could be used for that."
well then they have all the stuff at the gas station, which I don't even know how that stuff is legal, but it's like, turn your dick into like Lex Luger or something like that, and it's like some pill that
Lex
looks like
Luger.
it's like oh, speaking of that, I haven't got them yet, but they came back out with the WWE, WWF ice cream bars.
Oh, they are out now. I forgot about that. I gotta
Yeah.
go get
Yeah, I saw someone
some.
had them, and it had. It's weird because a lot of like the I don't know a lot of the WWE like superstars now, but they're all like pretty like standing up for like the Black Lives Matter movement, and like they're all like You would think Vince McMahon would be on some like Dana White type of shit where he would have like all of his wrestlers under wraps and like not be allowed to say anything. But a lot of like the top WWE guys are like saying stuff, which is pretty cool.
So I know some of them, believe it or not, through my
the
show.
DX dude, like fucks with you, right?
So I know some of them through my show, and I don't know. Yeah, some of them are pretty left wing, man, and it's really cool. So, Sami Zayn is one guy who follows me on Twitter. He still is, I think, in WWE.
I don't know Sami Zayn.
Yeah, he's after your time. He's after you would know about, but you do know X-Pac.
Yeah. He was in Degeneration
X-Pac,
X.
Sean Waltman, he watches the show too, and he follows me on Twitter, and I follow him. And then there's another guy who's a lefty who I don't think knows about me or doesn't follow the show as far as I know, Dave Bautista, the really, really big guy.
Wait, like Bautista?
Bautista. He's a left-wing dude.
Yeah, he's like, he's like,
Bernie
he was like a top guy.
Yeah, he was a top guy. He's like a Bernie supporter.
That's what's up.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
I think they would all be lefties because they all like have. Actually, no, they would probably be.
A lot of them are right wingers. There's many that are right wingers, but the ones that I listed are left wingers. And then there are others. I don't know if it's 50-50. I think if you talk to them, they'd say it's more like 80-20 or 70-30.
It's just weird because you can grow up, in some in poor ass neighborhood and like have to work for all that you've got and sort of be like, more liberal with things of just like,
Well, that's the thing is they're all working people, so they should be lefties.
That's what I'm saying. But then you think about it, and they could probably be raised in like some country ass, Republican, racist ass shit, and then go that route. You would think.
I don't know. See, I don't know if it's that or if it's the whole independent contractor thing. Like, this is what a lot of businesses do. They don't hire people as employees. They hire people as independent contractors.
Mm-hmm.
But really, that's more of a way to just not give them benefits. Like, you're not going to get health care. You're not going to get a pension. You know what I'm saying? So it might be the whole thing that business, oftentimes people in that business jump from like one wrestling federation to another, to another, to another. And they view themselves more as independent contractors than as like employees. So a lot of times independent contractors think that they're like small business guys and they're entrepreneurial, and usually with entrepreneurs, a lot of them are right wingers because they want low taxes. So that could be it. It could be what you're saying, that a lot of the people in wrestling were more raised in very southern places, and so culturally it's a little more right wing. I don't know what it is, but there are plenty of left wingers who are working people who are like, and I don't mean like the BS kind of lefties like normie Democrats. I'm talking about good like Bernie Sanders style, union style Democrats.
Yeah,
like those kind of lefties. There's a lot of those, and there's also some right-wing people. Like Vince McMahon himself is friends with Trump.
Yeah, fuck Vince McMahon. It just seems like a pompous asshole that like
cutthroat. He's a cutthroat businessman.
Super cutthroat. Yeah, we'll just fuck you over. But then again, I mean, like people will say that's how you become successful sometimes, like I'm sure he's had to.
Well, certainly it's part of the reason why, like oftentimes the people who make it are not the people who are like the smartest. They're the people who are the most shameless.
Yeah.
Who will like, sometimes just stab people in the back to get to wherever they have to go. And yeah, like Vince McMahon, he pulled a maneuver way back in the day where he like consolidated. So it used to be the case that wrestling was broken up into territories. So you had like Northeast wrestling and then Southeast wrestling and then Midwest wrestling. And I'm butchering it because I'm sure there were different. It was split up a little differently than that. But it was all in little like fiefdoms. You had like one federation here, one federation here, one federation here. And everybody was kind of cool with that. Like, all right, you guys make your money there. We'll make our money here, so on and so forth. But then Vince McMahon came along and he basically like consolidated all of it and like bought out the rights to some people and other people and married it and like just slit anybody's throat who got in the way and kind of unified everything under one banner of the WWF at the time. And like, yeah, like he had a vision that he wanted to implement. And the upside of that is it becomes a very unique thing that everybody knows about, that like that's the place you go, in the same way that, you want to watch basketball, you go to the NBA. Like it's one thing. It's like a monopoly in many respects. But the downside is if there are any holdouts, among the fiefdoms, like, of the wrestling federations. They just got railroaded, like they just got screwed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's in a larger scale, it's almost like what I'm fucking learning about America. It's just like people just came here and just straight bulldozed through like Native Americans,
OD.
and then brought in slaves from Africa to build the shit. Like I wanted to start the show by just saying I'm so numb to like it's fucked up in a sense because I shouldn't be, but just everything that's going on, and I haven't really been keeping up with so much shit because every day there's a new video, every day there's some new shit going on. But like what I texted you about, like I've learned so fuck Vince McMahon because he probably sliced through so many fucking people to come up on this shit the same way America did. Like we fucked over so many people to get to where we are now, where people think we're the fucking greatest, strongest country in the world, when it's like, no, we really did that shit by fucking over mad people. So it's like our history is so fucked up, man, and it's like we've never learned about it, and now it's a good thing that like people are really putting educational shit out there that's like, you want the truth? All right, here's the fucking truth.
Well, you got to remember, history is written by the winners. So when you win, you get to craft the narrative that you want to craft about yourself.
Yeah.
And like, so just imagine for a second if the Nazis won World War II. They would have talked about how like we saved civilization and we made it so that, we ushered in a new era of enlightenment and we got rid of everybody with the bad genes. Like they would have spun it to make it sound like they're the good guys. Because that's what people always do. If they win, they try to spin it like we're the good guys. So yeah, you get a skewed perception because right now we're the world's sole superpower, and we've been the world's sole superpower since World War II, since the end of World War II. So yeah, we've had kind of a skewed perception of this idea that we're, better than everybody else, American exceptionalism and whatnot. And you're right. As soon as you do any investigation into it, you realize it's just preposterous. We're a country that was founded on genocide. I mean, we wiped out from coast to coast Native Americans, and now they live in these little autonomous territories. And, that all they got is tax-free casinos from us, basically.
Seriously.
So there was westward expansion, the Trail of Tears. It's absolutely miserable. And then they have all these lies, the conservative rebuttals to all this stuff where they say like, well, it's not like they were totally peaceful before we came anyway. Like, yeah, okay, so Native Americans were warring with each other before we came. Throughout human history, everybody's been warring with everybody else. But we came here and we had, more power and numbers and strength, and we just wiped them out from coast to coast. And then, like you said, we kind of built the country with slavery in many respects. So, yeah, that, and then the other thing that people don't like to talk about because it's very uncomfortable, Japanese internment was a big one. FDR did that. FDR, a president who in other ways was amazing with the New Deal. Like, he was one of the few presidents who actually did, like, some positive stuff. But he did Japanese internment, which is just insane that happened if you think about it. The other thing is Truman nuked civilians in Japan. Dropped two nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and just straight up killed women and children and babies. Like, just killed civilians with a nuclear weapon. Like, that's part of our history.
Someone I forgot what I was watching or something like that, but it was like we saw firsthand when like Trump went to his little church and took his photo op of military taking action in the streets of like, gassing people and clearing people out. What the fuck do we do overseas when we're just going into like a little village or some regular ass town where nothing's going on and just fucking bum rush that shit with like shooting, killing people, So it's like on a tiny, tiny scale, we saw what that shit was like in our own country.
Yeah, where they just gassed peaceful protesters.
But no one wants to know what the fuck goes on overseas. So it's like everything's kept a secret between our military and like, if you're a Marine, there's like a code of probably not talking and this and that. And if you do talk with someone, it's, you don't want it to get out. And mainstream media. But like, dog, we're definitely doing some fucked up shit overseas.
Okay, OD. So we don't even have to, like, there are really high profile examples from recently. There was remember the hospital bombing in Afghanistan? That was like a big story that broke
Yeah,
a while ago. There's this hospital, the Kunduz hospital, and we just like massacred people there. And you would think that that alone would be like, oh, okay, so if we're lying and saying we're there to protect civilians in Afghanistan, it's like, well, you just killed a bunch of them. Okay, so you're negating your own reason for being there if you really even believe that we're here to protect civilians. You just killed a bunch of them. So, like,
yeah,
you should probably get out. But then there's also Obama increased drone strikes from Bush, and then Trump increased drone strikes from Obama. We're talking 90% civilian death rate, man. That's insane. And Trump increased it by over 400%. So, yeah, the stuff that we're doing, look at the thing we're doing with Iran right now. So Trump pulled out of the agreement. The Iranian nuclear agreement was one of the best things Obama did. Okay.
Mhm.
Trump gets in there. Trump pulls out of the agreement. We violated it, by the way. They didn't even violate it. We violated it, and then we pulled out of it. And then we started sanctioning them like crazy. Corin, we're even sanctioning medicine from going into Iran. They're not able, they have shortages of medicine that people need to survive. And we sanctioned it. And the top court, international court, said to the U.S. in a court case, you cannot do this. This is illegal. You cannot stop medicine from going into a country because these are civilians that need the medicine. You know what we did? We chastised the court and we pulled out of the court. And we said, we don't care. We're going to keep doing it. That's what Trump did. This stuff like this goes on all the time. And like, you're right. We're kind of kept at a distance from it. You know what I mean? Because the media is not, CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, they're not doing a good job covering this stuff. They do propaganda for the establishment. So, you know, people have to listen to our freaking podcast to get even like a little taste of what's really going on.
Which I recommend watch Kyle's show, but don't get any political like conversation points from this podcast, please. If you want to talk to someone about the greatest albums of all times, bring up Millennium, bring up that NSYNC shit, and bring up the Mariah Carey. But don't come back to us and you're quoting some shit from this podcast on like bombings and stuff. But nah, so like on some real shit, I've tried to, and to my fault, I guess is the saying, but like I haven't kept up with so much of the videos and all the, you know, shit going on outside of, you know, the George Floyd incident. But I have seen all of like, you know, a lot of college athletes having their universities remove racist slogans or a guy's name off of a scholarship or some shit like that. And I said this to you the other day, but like, it's really crazy how much racist fucking like roots we have tied to like some, you know, whether it's a monument or a line in a song.
Schools named after KKK Grand Wizards and stuff, bro.
Shit like that. Like, and it's just fucking mind-boggling to me how much racist shit there is out there. And like now it's taking all of this to get it removed. Like it was like, oh, we didn't think you'd catch on to that or something like that. Like,
yeah, but here's the thing. Now, this is a little bit of a contrarian point that I'm throwing out there to everybody. But like, be careful, because the first thing that they'll cave on is the symbolic stuff. So I'm not saying that people are wrong for pulling down like the racist statues and stuff. That's fine. I agree. Pull it down. There's no reason to like
have some Confederate,
have somebody whose main claim to fame, like there was this British statue of this famous, you know, slave runner, and it's like you look up and read about the dude, and it's like that was his main thing, and like really, so why did you build a statue to this guy? And they're like, oh well, he also built the port. Okay, the port where they were running slaves out of, like that's not like, why did you ever think it was okay to worship this guy? So like, yeah, okay, pull it down. I agree with that, but you gotta ask for more tangibles than that, because the symbolism stuff is so easy. That's why you have, you know, these major corporations coming out saying Black Lives Matter, because they know like, oh, this is easy. Like, let's get some brownie points real quick by going out there and saying Black Lives Matter. Meanwhile, these corporations probably got, you know, slaves in Cambodia making their freaking, clothes or whatever. And I'm no
Starbucks, I think,
saint.
got caught up
I'm
with
wearing
that shit.
Nike. Lord knows where this freaking thing was made. This thing was probably made in a sweatshop in Vietnam or something. So I'm no saint here. But what I'm saying is, be careful, because they will always concede on the symbolism first, because nothing hinges on it. So the fact that they're willing to cave on it so easily should tell you something. Whereas they'll really put up a fight when you start to actually do something that's going to change stuff. You know what I mean? So when it comes to the police departments, you have these protests out there where people are saying defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. Now, that sounds extreme, I'll admit to everybody, but if you look at the results right now, what's happening is the political system is responding with, okay, everybody relax. Fine, okay, we're not gonna defund the police, but like we'll cut the budget by 30%. Is that good? And so it's like
But that's not what they're asking for, though, right?
No, but the point is they're asking for something that's so extreme that there are real concessions now being made. Whereas if you were asking for something reasonable, then they wouldn't give any concessions at all. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a negotiation tactic.
Yeah.
And not that that's their purpose, because I think a lot of the people who are pushing for it really believe, like, defund the police or whatever. But the end goal, if the end goal is we end up ending the war on drugs, for example, we end up cutting police department budgets by 50%. We end up, reinvesting in like rehab centers and community first responders who show up with compassion and have mental health expertise or whatever it may be. You have special prosecutors whenever there's an instance of police brutality. Body cameras on all police, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, if the end goal is we get these positive reforms based off of people going out there and like pushing the envelope, then I'm all for it. Then I think it makes perfect sense.
I agree. I also think shit is going to get a lot worse still, because like I think there's a lot of animosity towards, from police officers that almost want to just get revenge, more or less, even if stuff is changing, within the legal system.
You saw they're lying already? So there was a story that came out yesterday where they were saying, we went to Shake Shack and somebody put bleach in our milkshakes.
I saw that.
And so they did a press release or whatever, and then all these news agencies ran with it and just reported it as if it was factual. And then, of course, come to find out, it's nonsense. It was investigated, and there was nobody who worked at the Shake Shack who put bleach in their milkshakes. So what they're doing is that's propaganda. They're waging an information war where they're trying to say, like, we're under attack. Everybody feel bad for us. And that's the thing that I saw that's been driving me crazy is like that police union head who was like giving that whiny speech.
Yeah.
Like, bro, come on, man. You got to be professional. Like, you got to be better than everybody. You got to be the ones who, hey, listen, we're here to protect and serve. This is par for the course. If we mess up, we understand. We're going to take responsibility. We're going to work to fix it. He did the exact opposite.
I know.
He went out there and was whining and acting like, treat us with some respect. We're not thugs. It's like, shut the fuck up, bro. You're fired. I would fire that guy in a second. Are you kidding me? We have to purge these police departments of all the bad cops. And the good cops are the ones who not only are not having any complaints against them or whatever, but also understand the gravity of their job and understand that, yes, you're supposed to be bigger than that. You're supposed to be better than everybody. We can't have a situation where we have 1,000 people that die every year in the United States because of police. Whereas in other developed countries, you have some nations where it's like less than 100 people have died in the entire history of the nation.
Yeah, I saw something. There was like 120 new deaths in 20 days or something like that. Someone tweeted or something. Like something crazy. But like, yeah, if you're a good cop, no one's fucking with you. Like if you're at a rally or something like that, no one's just going to start beating you up. Or like there has to be a good cop that picks up that 75-year-old man that got pushed over. Like no one's fucking with.
See, that's what
I'm saying. Like
that's been messing with me, man.
That guy.
That's
what I'm saying. There's no good cop to pick him up. So fuck all of those fucking cops.
But that's what I'm saying is that was a moment where it was like an eye-opening moment for me because I was always one of the people who believed like get rid of the bad ones and then have the good ones and then that's good. But Jimmy Dore made the point and it just stuck with me because he was saying he would pause a video whenever like all these videos of the police brutality where it's like they're the ones doing the offensive violence. There's no question about it. It's not like some protester attacked them and then they responded with force. Yeah. No. I'm talking about videos where they are doing the offensive violence and it's obvious, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What Jimmy Dore would do is he would show the video and then he'd pause it and he'd go, point to me which one is the good cop. Because there would be one cop beating the shit out of somebody who's innocent, who didn't do anything wrong. And you'd have one cop doing it, and then you'd see like 25 cops seeing that happen, and nobody's like, hey, dog, bro, what are you doing? You can't do that. And that point stuck with me. And then the cherry on top was the point you just made, where that 75-year-old dude who they pushed over and he was bleeding out of his ear, one dude went to go like bend over to see, and the other cop stopped him.
Yeah.
And then there were like 50, 100 cops there, and then they all just kept walking.
Yeah.
And I was like, not one of you, bro.
So
not one of you is going to go see if he's okay.
That was wild. And someone made a point to me, which I don't agree with. And it was like, most of the time you're seeing these videos, like you're not seeing the beginning of the video, or you're not seeing what led up to it. I sort of don't give a fuck. Like, I sort of don't care. Like, I sort of really don't care. Like, if someone's getting, like, if that dude's getting pushed to the floor, I don't care what he did prior to that. He could have just been turned around and put in some cuffs and like, or just like someone could have had a conversation with the dude. He had no weapons in his hand or nothing.
Yeah,
you know, like
you're saying there's no context in which that reaction is reasonable.
Exactly.
Because
so like
the dude didn't have a gun. He wasn't pointing it at the guy.
Yeah.
He's this obviously like frail old man. There's no context in which that reaction is reasonable.
Yeah. So I don't really see that. Like, do you see that argument where, like, you know, the news just picks up the story from a point that we don't necessarily know what happened before that?
My opinion is not that the context doesn't matter. I think the context always matters. But I think in a lot of these instances of the police brutality that we've been seeing, there is no context in which what they did is acceptable.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's this thread on Twitter that's over 300 tweets long of all police brutality.
Let me just say one shit. If your shit says like thread or one of some shit, I'll read 3 of your shits maybe. But if you go like 15 deep,
no, you're missing the point, bro. It's all videos of police brutality.
Oh, that's OD.
That's my point. Is that this one person decided to do an amalgamation of all the videos out there of the police brutality that's been happening. And again, not close instances of like everybody who's reasonable could point at the video and say, the cop overreacted. The cop didn't do the right thing. Over 300 tweets long. And I was like, oh my God, man, this is insane.
And that's why, like, someone made, it might have been on Bill Maher, I heard the point, but a lot of people are saying it now, is like, and I've never really thought about it this way, but like, when you get pulled over for some petty rolling a stop sign or speeding, why is a cop with a gun, you know, like he might have his hand on his holster, coming to like figure that situation out? You know, like when I'm in school, when I was at college, Molly was a ticket person. Like, she would go around and give somebody a ticket for parking in the wrong spot, or like, you know, I don't know what else they gave tickets for. I don't think she could give speeding tickets or whatnot, but like, there was like traffic people that did that shit, and they didn't have weapons. But like, why is a cop coming to my window where I get I get shook when a cop comes to my window, just because it's like, this dude has a weapon on him that could kill me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now imagine a black person who are getting killed with that shit for rolling a stop sign or doing some petty ass shit.
Philando Castile. He was reaching for his license.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that shouldn't be a cop's responsibility. Like,
but now you're getting into the meat of the conversation, which is, this is one of the things that people are rightly talking about: demilitarization of the police officers. Like, I understand. Listen, we are a nation that's armed to the teeth. Yeah. We got a quadrillion guns in here. So I get that there needs to be, like, if you're a police officer, or you're two of them in a car, you want to have a gun in the car? Bet. That's fine. I get it. Because there's plenty of instances of mass shootings and whatnot. I get it. But to your point, if it's just a routine traffic stop and you got a grandma up there, Like, why are we reacting like we're an occupying military? Whereas, and this is what a lot of the people are calling for who are doing the protests, they're saying, why let's have a situation where when there's a crisis, somebody appropriate to the crisis shows up. If somebody's having a schizophrenic meltdown, you want a mental health expert counselor to show up to help that person who knows how to deal with it. And
it's like Pawn Stars when they've got like some fucking crazy old book. They call him the librarian bitch who knows
the book person, yeah,
how to do this shit. Like he's not gonna call a police officer to be like, can you tell me about this old 1670 Bible from King Jacob III? Like the cop would be like, I've got a gun on me. I don't know anything about the book.
Call an expert that's specific and pertinent to that. And what happened is we've been asking cops to do things that are way outside of their field of expertise. And by the way, you have a lot of former military people who are cops. And it's like, some of them admit it. Ronnie Coleman, who's a bodybuilder, went on Joe Rogan's podcast and he admitted it, that sometimes he was a cop. He went to work looking for a fight. And it's like, that's the last thing that somebody in that situation should be doing. You don't want somebody looking for a fight. You want somebody who's going to try to fix problems and de-escalate situations.
Yep. That was what I always try to do. Like I've never, like I was listening to Bill Burr on Rogan for a little bit, and I think I got into one fight in the 3rd grade, but I've never gotten into a fight because I would always try to de-escalate any situation with some comedy ass shit. Like I would just try and say something funny that hopefully somebody wouldn't want to fight me. Or if I saw somebody fighting, I'd try to like just break it up with some humorous shit. It's almost more like if I'm a girl or a guy or whatever, I would find it sexier if someone could stop a fight than to like encourage some shit or knock somebody out. So like you could be like, to me, prior to, I have so much respect for Molly, and if she listens to this part, I hope she does. I've got so much respect for her because we were in a bar in college one time, and some girl like OD bumped into her, and Molly was like, I guess like she was twisted or something like that, but like she shoulder shrugged Molly mad hard, and the girl like looked at Molly like she wanted to like start something, but Molly's a world champion black belt in karate, and she just like walked away from the situation. She could have demolished that girl, but like she was like, I'm only gonna, and I think she told me afterwards, she was like, I'm only going to use my karate or fight somebody if it's a life or death situation. I'll never use that shit in a bar or like just on some off the cuff shit. And I like, ever since that day, that has always stuck with me. And it's almost just like it's just corny, and it's almost makes a person weaker when like there's a bouncer that's at the bar and they're like pulling people off and they're like, yo, back up, and it's just like,
yep.
Come on, dude, you just look like a douchebag, you look weak, and you're just weak-minded. I like love bouncers, or I love bartenders, or I love just like regular ass people that could just diffuse a situation with just like some like, hey man, come on, we're all cool, we're all just trying to have a good time, like just let's just ease up on whatever, and it's just like you have so much more respect, and you usually comply with whatever they're asking because they're being reasonable.
But here's the problem. The problem is that there are some people who are looking for a fight.
I know, and fuck those people.
I mean, think of what Henry was like when he was in college. He would look for a fight.
Yeah.
So, and that's the problem, is that are there people who are rioters and looters who went out there looking to cause problems? Of course, nobody's denying that. There were some people who were doing the wrong things, who were, part of protests, and then they came in and took advantage and were rioting or looting or whatever. Everybody knows that. Are there cops who also have that same mindset that they're looking for a fight? Absolutely. And that was Jimmy Dore's point, is that in every police unit, you have like one or two just absolute total psychopaths who are looking for trouble. And then you have all the other ones who are enablers who, even if that person does that, they're going to cover for them. And that's the problem, because then he's right when he says, where's the good one? Point to me the good one. Because you're either the psychopath who's committing the violence, or you're the overwhelming majority who are the enablers. And then if you're somebody who really does have a conscience and really does speak to a higher up to try to blow the whistle on the person who's being a psychopath, they'll punish you. They'll punish you. And so people who are good people end up getting out of that field completely when they see the nature of how it really works. It's almost like with politics. Like with politics, all of Washington, D.C. is corrupt. That's the way the system works, is you raise money through campaign contributions, and oftentimes the campaign contributions come from rich people or come from corporations. So
Yep.
then you're going to represent the rich people or the corporations. Now, you talk to somebody who's a politician in Washington, D.C., they'll just tell you this is how it works. They don't even view themselves as corrupt. They're just like, this is how it works.
I think Republicans know, like in the inner circle, like, we all know we're doing some grimy shit. Or are they
So do the
Democrats too?
Democrats.
Yeah, you're right.
Of course, they're super corrupt, but I think that they've convinced themselves so they can sleep at night. This is just how it works. We got to raise the money because we got to win. And then, yes, we got to do some legislation that helps our donors, but what are you going to do? That's the price you pay. So they've convinced themselves it's okay. The same way that the cops convince themselves it's okay to have a couple psychopaths who are doing offensive violence and then the other ones cover up for the psychopaths. So, like, it's all like structural problems that need to be addressed.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how that changes. Like, I don't know how realistically our police department could get to some shit that's like Bill Maher made that point. There's that place in New Jersey, maybe Camden or something like that, that like, got rid of all their police department and brought back they brought back some who were still in the force, but also brought in people who were from that area. I just I don't see the police force changing anytime soon. Like,
yeah, but there are ways to fix it, and we can't be resigned to like, oh, nothing can get better.
Yeah,
because even if you just end the drug war, then you get rid of the fuel that allows the oppression of poor people and people of color. Because the drug war allows or actually encourages police officers to be assholes to regular people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're looking for people who might be doing drugs. Well, if we say to them, actually, no, now it's totally legal for somebody to do drugs, what are they going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to harass somebody for having marijuana on them or having coke on them? But that's not illegal anymore. So what are you going to do? You're going to waste your time with that? No, we're not going to let you waste your time with that. So now, like, they only should have to show up for cases of, hey, this person's a murderer, this person's a rapist, this person's a robber, this person committed financial fraud. Like, that's when they show up. So you take away the fuel that keeps them doing all these terrible things. And then also, like we were just talking about before, demilitarize them. Say you can only have one gun and it's got to be in the car. You can't just carry a gun on you. That alone is going to stop, because what's going to happen? They don't have a gun. You can't shoot somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, they banned the chokeholds too. So, but point is, overall, the number of deaths would come down massively if you just did those two things: demilitarize, and what was the other one? And the drug war.
Yeah.
You just do those two things, like, immediately you at least cut in half the number of, police killings.
Did you see? You saw the Chappelle special thing?
I did, yeah.
It was really good, and he made that point too, that there was that cop who went about everything the right way, tried to, report the issue and go through the system, and basically got blacklisted or outed, or nothing came of it, which is the same shit in politics. And the Crystal and Sagar, who were on Rogan's thing, spoke about that in like the mainstream media world. It's just like, you don't want to ruffle any feathers because they'll just blacklist you and you won't get a job and you won't, come up the rankings. And it's just like, it's so unfortunate because there's people that are trying to go about things the right way and they're just not heard, and then they can't get another job. And like, that's how the system stays how it is, So, I mean, like, you need, like, yeah, like, you don't see a lot of cops coming out now and like, and even if they do, it seems phony. Like, these cops that are kneeling with other protesters and doing all that shit. Like, fuck that. Like, there's actual situations probably where they're out in the field and like some shit happens where they're quiet. Like, so don't give me all that shit while the cameras are on.
Yeah, see, and this goes back to the point I was making earlier. Beware of the symbolism. Whenever people give you the symbolic victories, it's because they want to avoid the substantive victories.
It almost makes it like they're more like there's more fishiness going on.
Yes,
like,
exactly. Oh, like, yeah. Oh, what do you want me to do? You want me to kneel? All right, I'll kneel. No problem. That's easy.
Like Nike, day one, here's $100 million to Black Lives Matter. It's like, hold on. You got some shit going on in like Africa or some shit that's
the fact that they got sweatshops in whatever country, like Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Like, okay, here's money for Black Lives Matter. Don't look at the fact that we're employing slaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like,
Such a hypocrite. I'm wearing a Nike thing right now.
I mean, like, nah, you can't knock on Nike. I mean, they still make some hot shit, but like, it's just shady when there's like so much, there's too much support, like right off the bat, where it's just like, hold on, you could be supportive, but then there's like some next step shits, but it's not just throwing a bunch of money at the shit.
It's always going to be symbolic. It's not going to be substantive, which is why I hope that the people who are really out there in the streets understand that reality, that the symbolic stuff means Dickie McGee's axe, because a lot of people are gullible enough to think symbolic victories are real victories.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not real victories. That's not even close to real victories. So just because fucking Jeff Bezos says Black Lives Matter, that doesn't mean anything.
There's too much shit to follow, man. I'm so like,
well, you heard the NBA's coming back?
Yeah, but even the NBA shit is like, I like Kyrie sort of has a point by saying like, hold on, let's look at this like as a bigger picture. Like, we've got mad leverage right now. Like, maybe we shouldn't come back. But he's also said mad crazy shit that
the flat earth thing.
Yeah. Like, you sort of have to take what he said with a grain of salt to be like, is he on some other shit right now? Or is he actually right? And so he's sort of right, because players got so much leverage. He said they could start their own fucking league, and he's right about that.
Well, here's the counter argument that I've heard people make. If they come back, there's going to be a zillion eyes on them. So whatever kind of things they want to do to raise awareness, raise money for causes that they support, they could do it. Like, it was, remember, Colin Kaepernick started the whole kneeling for the national anthem thing to try to protest police brutality, to get something changed on that, funny enough.
Yeah.
And like, if they could come back and all take a knee, and then it's like, universal, and they could make demands. Like, LeBron James is sort of getting more and more enlightened by the day. And like, if LeBron James came out with, listen, we're going to play, we're going to kneel during the anthem, here's the list of what we want. We want to demilitarize the police.
He could do that with, like, I feel like he could do that more powerfully without playing. Like, if he was like, Los Angeles, to the mayor or whoever the fuck is in charge of doing shit out there, is like, I'm not going to play another game in the Staples Center or in Orlando or wherever until, like, do the shit now, and then I'll come back and play. Because once you come back and play, it's a rap skis. We know we got you.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. But does he have... See, I hope that he has the wherewithal, and I don't think he does, because it sounds to me like they're split. That's what Matt Barnes was saying, that the NBA split. Like, you have some players who want to come back and play, and you have other players who are like, nah, this is a historic moment. We need to sort of take a back seat, because sports are just, it's going to take everybody's attention away from that. And that's when the counter is, well, you could play and still keep the focus on that by kneeling, by having a list of demands, whatever. But I like your point that if you're not playing, but then the thing is, you got to get everybody on the same page. What are we demanding? And then if they meet those demands, do all of us come back? Because my guess is you're going to have a variety of different opinions among the players, where one person will be like, yeah, it's enough to demilitarize the police and end the drug war. And then you have other players who will be like, that's not enough. I don't want just that. I want way more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like,
there's not going to be an agreement on,
Yeah, how do you get every single person on the same page? And this is the same problem that all kinds of popular movements run into, which is...
You can't agree on, like...
Yeah, you can't agree on exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so since you can't agree on it, then it's just like the status quo wins out, because the status quo is the default option.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right.
I gotta say, I miss the NBA just from a selfish perspective. I want to see them play again.
I miss it too, but like at the end of the day, like I'm sort of starting to agree with Kyrie a little bit more here, because it's just like if
but he doesn't know what he wants. That's the thing about Kyrie that annoys me, is like, at least with LeBron has been like saying stuff that's pretty substantive on a regular basis now. Like, Kyrie, I don't think he even knows what he wants. He's just, I feel like part of Kyrie saying I don't want to play is just because he doesn't want to play.
Well, that, and I think he's a very deep thinker, where it's like he takes thinking to another level, where it's just like he wants to
if you ever believed in flat Earth for 2 seconds, you ain't a deep thinker. Hell
I
no.
know, but I just think he sees like he's trying to think big picture with it, and I can't get inside of his head. But like, if the NBA comes back, all the white owners, they get their money. The corporate media still gets their money from TV. Like, there's bigger implications with them coming back that like a lot of people would be fucked if it doesn't. So like, if these top athletes are really about this shit, they could come together and like really, really make a difference on some shit by not playing. And I think that's what he's sort of getting at, is just like, if we come back, we just give up all of our leverage with the shit. And I don't know. I think he's sort of right, but I just don't see that ever happening. I just feel like these guys.
So what do you think's going to happen? What's going to end up happening?
I think they'll come back. Like, they're gonna come back, and that goes to like the same point with all these that have always made these celebrities who like at the Oscars are making great speeches and doing all this, saying all the wonderful shit that like the media eats up, and like, it gets good coverage and people cry and everybody is like, look at Bradley Cooper. He's taking the time to, instead of talking about his movie, he's talking about people. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. He's still at the Oscars with a fucking
I hate them. The virtue signalers in Hollywood.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, you could be for Bernie Sanders or, even a Democrat.
They're not for Bernie Sanders. They're for Hillary Clinton and they're for Joe Biden.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why I hate them.
Think they're doing the right shit and they think they're saying the right things.
But it's hollow as hell. Like, I feel like
exactly
the athletes are not as hollow, I feel like.
That's why I fuck with Colin Kaepernick so much, because it's just like
he risked his career.
And that's what it's like. If you really want to make a big ass difference, like LeBron or anybody, don't play. And Kyrie, it's easy to say like, I'd risk everything I have or whatever he said. Like, I'd lose everything I have. It's easy to say that shit when you got mad millions in the bank, but like.
See, but okay, I feel like part of the reason why Kyrie is saying it is because his team is buns.
Nah, I don't
Yes, Corin. I'm telling you, Kyrie.
I think he really cares about it.
Kyrie threw his own freaking teammates under the bus recently, bro. Do you remember that? When he was like, yeah, if we could get new pieces in. And like, it's like, come on, bro. You got to
sort of being real, though. There were some guys on the team that are ass cheeks. That like,
nah. He's not a leader. You had enough to do something and at least make a freaking playoff run. And he's so buns that he couldn't even make a playoff run with that squad. So he's pointing fingers at everybody else. See, that's my problem with Kyrie, is that like, he thinks he wants to be the man, then he becomes the man, and then he can't make it as the man, and then he starts blaming everybody else. And this is the same kind of thing where it's like, I just think he doesn't want to play, and his team is buns. I don't think he's got any high-minded. Like, I think LeBron is about it. I do. Like, because the more people told him, like, yo, don't talk about that, the more he was like, I'm going to talk about this shit. So I have a faith and a trust in his level of understanding to think his motivations are pure. Kyrie, sort of no.
I think LeBron is on some next level where he could talk about it and not have the fear of anything like happening. Like,
yes, because he's in like the freaking Kobe Jordan.
Yeah, he's so like, beyond like
he's so
anything.
Beyond. He's above it. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Even with the NFL coming back, I think that like all these players kneeling now, it's not gonna have the same effect. Like everyone's gonna kneel now. Man,
because listen, it's Corin, you got to understand something. National anthem, like conservatives get hard for it.
Yeah, but like the narrative changes. Like it meant something if you were kneeling last season or back when Kaepernick was doing it. Like it meant something. Conservatives were like pissed.
Once you open up the floodgates, there are consequences. So, but like again, this gets back to the main question though of like, okay, you're gonna kneel. What are you asking for? So if everybody gets on the same page, and because you can't, if you're just kneeling to kneel,
that's
to be like,
it's going to lose its value. Like everyone's going to be kneeling. You're going to see Tom Brady, Drew Brees is going to be kneeling.
Yeah.
I forgot, maybe 2 seasons ago, but like Ray Lewis was shitting on the kneeling. And then like there was a time where every team was kneeling for like one game or something like that. Ray Lewis was on 2 knees kneeling the week after. Like, it loses its luster a little bit.
Okay, you swayed me. No, you're right. You're right, because that's exactly what's going to happen. My fear is that people will kneel, but then if you ask them, hey, why are you kneeling? they might be like, I'm kneeling for George Floyd or something. And it's like,
the same
okay.
thing with the black box. I put it up on Instagram and on Twitter with the, the Blackout Tuesday. It's like
Exactly, yeah. But like
easy to kneel.
what they need to understand is you need to kneel for, let's stop the next George Floyd from happening. It's not
Yeah.
about, let me kneel in solidarity because what happened to him was wrong. We all agree it's wrong. Even conservatives, Rush Limbaugh, Ted Cruz are like, yeah, it's wrong. You can't just kneel, I'm kneeling for George Floyd. No, you have to kneel to try to prevent the next George Floyd, which means here's steps A, B, and C to get to that point. But you're right. I fear that people don't know like what that actually entails. And without the proper leadership, see, man, that's why like the civil rights movement, none of the new era learned from the civil rights movement. They had it all figured out. They showed us the way. Martin Luther King showed us the exact way. We're like, hey, this is how you get the change. And to the point where he had his demands, and then the police officers would like attack him and his peaceful protesters, but that only made him more powerful because then people were like, damn, they're peaceful even when they're being attacked by police officers. Like, they must be right about what they're fighting for. And then people would look at what they wanted. And then we got the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. They won. It was substantive.
It's so, you remember in the movie Glory when Denzel was getting like whipped?
Mm-hmm.
And like he just was like looking back the whole time. I think it was Glory. And he just kept looking back. And it was almost like, as a viewer, you're watching that shit like, damn, man. Like, one, it's fucked up. He's getting whipped, first off. But like the way that he's just like, this shit is wrong.
Yep, that's right.
And like just kept every like, and they like did a great job. That movie is amazing if anybody hasn't seen that shit. But like the way he's just looking back, just like, you're fucking up right now. And like you have so much more sympathy for Denzel's character there because it's just like, what are they doing?
There was a study that came out about the civil rights era, and they found exactly what I just described, which is when you had peaceful protesters and peaceful cops, there wasn't any change that happened as a result of that because it wasn't even a news story because it was just everybody being peaceful. When you have violent protesters, people turned on the protesters and they wanted more law and order and they wanted more like security. But when you had the peaceful protesters and the cops being violent to the protesters, that was actually the perfect mix for change to come because then people listened to the concerns of the protesters and the majority of the population was swayed to believing what the peaceful protesters believed in. So like, yeah, there's something very powerful about that. And I don't think that we have the leadership today that we had back then. And like, I think people are kind of a mess out there and they don't really have clear goals. They don't know exactly what they're doing. And it's like, damn, then we're going to waste the moment. We're going to waste the moment. And that's a real shame.
Yeah, it is. It goes back to my other point where it's like, there's so much more like power in restraint. It's so much harder to not react to something than it is to just pull out your baton or pull out your gun or like hit somebody. Like, I love watching a video of someone face-to-face confrontation with someone and they just have the courage to just walk away. Like, those are the videos that fucking are like amazing to see because it's just like that person has so much willpower to like.
I feel like it's most reasonable people would do that. Most reasonable people.
And like all the videos I see of like people antagonizing shit are all just the losers from fucking like high school. They're all just fucking corny, fat, like just fucking lames. And like they're the ones that are standing in front of like Christopher Columbus statues and like at these Trump rallies, like, stirring up behind a fence, yelling the N-word or something like that. It's like they're all just fucking lames. And if you just let them be lames in their own fucking time, they're not getting fucking girls. They're not getting guys. Like, just let them be losers. Like, all these people I saw in Milwaukee outside of this Trump rally, they all had the same corny leather jackets on. They're all fucking out of shape fucks. Just let them be fucking losers. Like, it's so frustrating to me that people like even fucking engage with these people and like have back and forths with like people that just like they're the fucking scums of the earth, and it frustrates me, man, because it's just like they're lost causes. So thinking that you're even going to change their mind by like telling them some shit, just let them be. Like, have that restraint to just let them fucking be.
There's some interesting videos on TYT of Emma Vigeland, who's one of their reporters, goes to the Trump rallies from time to time. This was obviously before coronavirus. And talks to them, and is really interesting when you hear a lot of them are so brainwashed from like Fox News.
They say the same shit, right?
A lot of them do. The ones who like Trump enough to go to his rallies are a very unique breed. I don't think every Trump supporter is stupid. I don't think every Trump supporter is racist. I think there are plenty of people who voted for him just to kind of destroy the system because they think the system's messed up and they think that there was a chance that he would like kind of bust up the establishment. And so I get it. They're not all bad. But the kind of people who would go to a Trump rally are really a unique hardcore Trump fan variety. And when you hear them talk, it's really eye-opening as to just they're living on a different planet. They do not see the world at all like you or I see the world. It's very bizarre. I had covered a lot of their videos when Emma Vigeland went because some of the things they said were just absolutely amazing. But Trump is actually bringing his rallies back. You heard about that with COVID-19 still happening?
That's why it's like, you don't think, I don't know if this was 2 weeks ago, but like how he had that tweet that was like, when they start shooting or like looting,
when they start looting, we start shooting.
And you were like, you don't think he thinks that deep about like the history of whatever?
He didn't know.
He didn't do it, but he's got someone on his team who's on some next level racist shit that like knows all of this stuff, because now he's doing his first shit in Tulsa, which I learned about like the killings that happened there and the Juneteenth date or something like that.
He changed that, thank God.
But still, like the fact that
but still the Tulsa thing. I agree. Like somebody made a point, maybe Stephen Miller, who's like a notorious racist in his administration, maybe he's the one who set the date and stuff.
Someone's pulling the strings on his shits to like put those tweets out. That's why it's like he's on some next level racist shit.
Nah,
where it's just like
he's not next level anything. He's an idiot. Like I hear you that maybe there's somebody in his administration in some ways pulling strings. Like I would buy that Stephen Miller was like, let's do it on this date and let's do it in Tulsa.
But it's not Trump like just like, oh, okay, I'll go. Like he knows what he's doing.
I don't buy it. I just think he's not that bright. I really don't think he's on some like you said last podcast. He's playing racist chess. I just don't think he is. I don't think he's playing racist chess. He's playing dumb checkers.
He's not where he is because he's a dumb guy.
Reagan did the same thing when he launched his campaign. He apparently did it in the same place where they had killed civil rights workers, like the same Mississippi town or something that they killed civil rights workers. Or no. Maybe it was the place that they killed Martin Luther King. I don't remember, but it was one of those two. Reagan launched his campaign in like a super questionable place where it was like you knew what he was doing.
That's why I just have a hard time with all of this shit, man, because it's just like all of these people that I don't look up to Reagan or anybody like, Elvis or any of that shit.
Reagan or Trump or anybody.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but like there's probably somebody that I look up to that is like some historical white figure that I probably thought was good because it was fed to me. But like there's so many other fucking black people that have created so much more shit that we've never heard about that is just like, that's where I start thinking even more. Is just like all of these musicians that that people like, Bob Dylan was probably great.
There was stealing shit from black musicians forever.
That's what I'm saying. Is just like how much other shit was there that like, people have gotten credit for a white guy that some black dude probably created way before this motherfucker ever even thought about it.
Definitely possible. But I think there's an interesting conversation about like, so we're pulling down the statues of like the very obviously racist people, right? And everybody's doing that now. Okay, I totally get it. But it is true that like Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. George Washington, was George Washington a slave owner?
I think they said he had slaves or some shit.
Okay, so I think he was too. Yeah. So, like, what do you do in the more borderline cases, or at least the cases where people would perceive it as being more borderline? Do we just say I mean, I'm comfortable with saying if you've owned slaves, you're not going to get a statue.
Or
But
even
that's
all the
me.
dudes who wrote the Constitution. Like there was probably not one black dude in that room to be like, yo, can you throw some shit in there for us? Like hook me up.
Of course, they had the freaking, what was it, the 2/3 compromise or something in the Constitution where black people were 2/3 of a person.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so
Yeah,
why
it
do
was
we look
racist
at that
as hell.
shit as some like artifact that's like for
Well,
everybody?
I mean, because obviously it was amended to get rid of that. So now it's like, they kept more of the reasonable parts and got rid of the freaking 2/3 compromise.
That's like Playboy now removing all the fucking naked photos from their shit. Like it's like you can't just take some shit out and still think it's the same fucking document.
What would you do in terms of the Thomas Jefferson statues or George Washington statues? Now, again, I'm comfortable pulling them all down because I don't care about symbolism that much, but I know other people do. So it's like,
take all that shit down, man. Like I don't trust any like.
But then, okay, but hold on. So the things that would remain in a situation like that are like, okay, you still have your national symbols, like the bald eagle, for example, the American flag. But then some people would make the argument that, like, well, the American flag also represents the Native American genocide and slavery and this and that. And it's like, is there ever an end? See, this is the argument people make. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
The
argument people make is, okay, so you pull down the Confederate statues. We all understand that that's like, that makes sense. The Confederacy was egregious. It was literally un-American. They tried to secede from the United States of America. So you pull down the Confederate ones. Okay, gone. You pull down the, like, obviously historically evil people, Robert E. Lee, slave runners, yada, yada. Gone. Get it. Then you get to the borderline ones. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. A lot of people draw a line there, and they're like, nah, you can't get rid of George Washington. He's the father of the country. Yeah, he may have had slaves. Yeah, he may have been messed up in 1,000 ways, but he also defeated the frickin' British and made this country what it is. So no, I would never get rid of it. Thomas Jefferson, he was one of the founding fathers, brilliant guy, helped write the Constitution, right? I believe he was one of them who did it.
Sure.
I'm butchering my history right now, probably. Don't make fun of me, people. But like, okay, some people would draw a line and say, no, you can't get rid of Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. What would you say in response to that?
Fuck them. Get rid of get rid of all of them. Like, I don't get why people get so caught up.
But what about the symbols then? Would you get rid of the symbols too or no?
Symbols as in what?
As in, like, okay, so we have a country, the United States of America. There are national symbols. There's a bald eagle and there's a flag, a U.S. flag.
Yeah, I'm cool with getting rid of everything. Like, I don't
but
get
then, okay, see, that's where I draw the line at the flag and the bald eagle, because every country on earth has a flag.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you got to have a flag, but, like, maybe redesign this shit. Like, why does it have to be, like, we should have a new, like, you would fucking get new license plates every 5 years or some shit. Why don't we have a committee that changes the flag every 5 years? Like, sell more T-shirts or some shit like that. Change the flag. Fuck it. Like, teams change their logos. Like, there's rebranding. Companies always got to rebrand every 10 years or some shit like that.
I like what you're saying, but what's so funny to me is that there would be so many people who would just say, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, there would be some people who would be offended by you saying that, even though I think it's actually pretty reasonable.
Like, they changed the flag. I see all these flags now flying of, like, the police flag, the black one with the blue stripe on it and shit like that. Like, how is that not disrespecting the flag by fucking literally changing the colors of the flag to support some shit that you like? Like, that's more disrespectful than fucking Colin Kaepernick taking a knee in front of the actual flag. Is you're changing the colors of the fucking flag. So you're demoralizing, or whatever the fuck the word is, of changing the flag. Like,
yeah. I think, but I'm cool with both. I don't care what the hell they do with the flag, and I don't care that Colin Kaepernick kneels for it. I think it's all fine. I really don't care. But I get your point. Your point is they're hypocrites because they're like, how dare you desecrate the flag, and then they desecrate the flag.
Yeah, like styles change, people change, flags could change. Like, change the shit up. Like, that should be in the fucking president's job requirement. Like, so Obama could have had some gangster ass flag that he changed up and made it like
Now,
some
see,
swaggy shit.
I'm down with the redesign, but if we redesign, I would only want to do it once and then leave it. I wouldn't want to keep doing it.
No, I mean you do it every 25 years or something like that. Like
Nah,
you could have.
25 years is nothing. In one lifespan, you'd have one person, see 4 different flags.
I'm cool with that.
Nah, if we change it once. That's it, and then keep it like that. That's what I would do.
Or have a vote or some shit to change the flag. Like
Yeah,
there's got to
democratically change it, and people would be hilarious. They would make it like funny. People would vote for some funny shit, like when they named the boat. Remember when the internet had to name a boat, and they did like Bodie McBoatface?
No, is that a real thing?
Yeah, the internet was asked like, you have to name this boat, and they went with like Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah, you don't put that shit on Twitter or the internet. Like you gotta like have some
an official vote.
Yeah, like, or just have a committee of people that we trust. Like,
and then they all suck each other off.
Yeah, don't leave it to the Supreme Court people, because like, so what? The most recent shit is they passed the shit where you can't get fired if you're LGBTQ.
Yeah, so it was a good decision, and this is what it was. There was a trans woman who was fired when she came out as trans. And the bosses were like just uncomfortable with the fact that she's transgender, and so they fired her. And so she sued, and unfortunately she died before the verdict came in. Like she died like last month or 2 months ago or something. So it's actually very sad. Mm-hmm. But she won. And so what the Supreme Court said is, under the 1964 Civil Rights Act, they outline that you can't discriminate against people for race, for religion, and for sex. And the argument that the government was making was, no. When they say you can't discriminate based on sex, what they mean is you can't discriminate male or female. That's what they mean. And the argument from this woman's lawyer and her team was, no, when they said you can't discriminate based on sex, that includes gender identity. That includes, like, if I'm a man, born a man, and then I become a woman, I'm a transgender woman. That's my gender identity. So this 1964 Civil Rights Act would protect me too. And you can't just fire me because I'm trans. And so the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 on the side of the transgender woman, and said, yes, you can't be fired just because you're trans. And so they made a good decision, man. And actually, there were 2 votes that were surprising. Neil Gorsuch, who Trump just picked to become a justice, he's very conservative, but he went to the left on this. And then John Roberts, who's another conservative
That's
justice.
the black guy, right?
No, Clarence Thomas is the black guy. Clarence Thomas has been reliably wrong about every single vote he's ever taken.
And he voted no. He voted no, right?
No, he voted against the trans woman.
Yeah, against it, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that just goes to my point, though, about like 6-3 for some shit that like you would think is pretty much a majority. Like, nah, you shouldn't be fired for that.
No, well, see, here's the thing, Cor. This is one of those instances of like, do we go by the letter of the law or do we go by the spirit of the law? So I think there's an argument. If you say very strictly by the letter of the law, the 1964 Civil Rights Act does not say anything about transgenderism. It doesn't say you're protected if you're trans. It says you're protected if there's discrimination based on sex. So the conservatives had an argument. The government had an argument. They just didn't make the argument well enough. But like, you can make an argument that the letter of the law does not protect transgender people because the term transgender does not appear in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. But the decision that the court made was that the spirit of the 1964 Civil Rights Act is you should not discriminate against people based on characteristics that they can't control. And so if that's how we're looking at it, then yeah, of course, somebody can't control if they're trans or not. So yeah, why should it be any different? You shouldn't discriminate against a black person. You shouldn't discriminate, against a gay person. You shouldn't discriminate against a trans person. It's all things they can't control. So it was a classic letter of the law versus spirit of the law thing. And you had conservatives who went on the side of the spirit of the law when they usually go on the side of the letter of the law. So in other words, my point is, legally speaking, it's actually not a clear-cut case. Mm-hmm. Morally speaking, which is the point that you're making, yeah, morally speaking, it's a clear-cut case. There's no it's obvious that you shouldn't discriminate based on anything arbitrary like that. But the moral thing and the legal thing are not always coinciding. But this was a rare instance where they did what I think is the right thing and what you think is the right thing.
But that's similar. Is that similar to like what I said? If Trump wins again, he appoints someone. If RGB passes away, knock on wood. The abortion shit is almost just like, it seems like that would never be something that would get overturned because it's like.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know, because there are instances of, like, the court has gone right wing on a bunch of stuff and the court has gone left wing on a bunch of stuff. If you get another conservative justice, there will be a lot more conservative opinions. There will be. The thing is, oftentimes the court surprises us on social issues. So, like, the stuff that they're reliably right wing on, it's all economic stuff, where you get, like, they'll always, vote on the side of big business against regular people. They always do. Mm-hmm. But usually, or a hefty percentage of the time on social issues, they seem to rule the proper way. Like, they ruled the right way on gay marriage. They ruled the right way on transgender non-discrimination, like we're just talking about. So it's complex, but, like, yeah, if there's another conservative justice, there will be more conservative opinions. But is it possible that abortion is one of those issues where they stay left? It is possible, but I don't want to roll the dice and find out. Like, I don't want to have another conservative justice and, like, feel like there's a better chance that we don't protect, abortion rights.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I just still think, and this is just on, like, the largest scale possible, that the millions and millions of people. How many people are in the U.S.? Millions or billions?
Maybe, like, including documented and undocumented, maybe 340 million or something like that.
There's, how many Supreme Court justices are there? 9?
9.
There's just 9 old farts that, like, fucking see over all of those people. Like, they gotta go take a shit in the middle of their conversation, or, like, someone's stomach's upset, or someone it's so mind-boggling. Like, if you explain that to anybody, that there's 9 people that are in charge of, like, deciding what happens to 340 million people, they'd be like, nah, that's not a thing, right?
I know. There's a real legal question too about judicial review and, like, the ability of the Supreme Court to determine what's constitutional and what's not. Because in theory, the government could pass, like, the Congress could pass any law, and the president can sign it, and then the Supreme Court could say, we think it's unconstitutional. They just slap it down.
We live in crazy. Such, like, that's the craziest shit to me. Like, fuck UFOs, fuck, conspiracy theories about 9/11, fuck all that other shit. The fact that there's 9 people with that job,
I know,
is like,
because at least with the president,
step one.
At least with the president, we feel like, well, we did pick him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas with the justices, it's like, we didn't pick any of them, and they could just be like, we disagree with that thing you just did. We're gonna slap it down. It's like, what?
Yeah, and, like, the fact that anybody gets put on that type of pedestal,
I know,
is on some, like, it's. Oh, I can't even wrap my head around it any more than all this other shit that's going on, man.
I know. All right, let's wrap it up because we've been talking for a while.
I just want to say that fuck those cops that went to Shake Shack and, like, I saw that. I think they just got, like, diarrhea because, like,
yeah, they lied. They lied about it. They said
if I was famous, yeah, and I went to Chipotle, and after every time I went to Chipotle, I hit up the media and was like, my stomach's fucked up. There would be a news story every time because that, like. Have they not been to Shake Shack before?
Yeah, like, bro, you drank milkshakes. Like, milkshakes sometimes will mess up your stomach like that.
OD.
If you're lactose intolerant, you're going to be shitting. You're going to be farting.
That's what you can't go to Shake Shack and then cry that you've got poison because you're on the toilet now. Like, yeah, Chipotle would be out of business because they've been fucking my stomach up since '88.
I always tell you don't get the green shit, and then you get the green shit.
Well, no, they got me good like 2 days ago because they probably poisoned that shit. They probably fuck with some people. But then yesterday I was good money. There's definitely some shit inside of like fast food restaurants where they know like put a little extra in that shit if you want to fuck somebody. You know, like a little extra salt. Like if you do one more scoop of salt in the French fry shit, or you do like
For you, it's just the green stuff, man. That's that kills you every time.
no, it's like a combo of the green with the corn with the sour cream. It like because if I get it, I think there's a perfect storm of shit that happens. That like something goes wrong in my stomach when it's like the combination.
You got the world's weakest stomach, and I have the world's strongest stomach.
Yeah, I got a weak ass stomach.
I've never, like, if other people have described the experience of eating Taco Bell and then shitting their brains out, never once have I eaten Taco Bell and then had to run to the toilet.
Mine goes right through me, and people are like, "It's gonna take you, like it's not possible."
Yeah, no, I remember experiencing that. You were like, "I got to go to the bathroom, bro." I was like, "You just ate."
Hold on, I want to find that NSYNC album. I don't know. It wasn't No Strings Attached, but whatever. There was three of the hottest albums ever are
the original NSYNC shit was dope.
What was the original shit?
The original shit was like all of them side by side, face by face.
Yeah, this shit right here. I see it.
Yeah, that's the original.
I don't know. Their holiday shit was a banger too. They might have the hottest CD of all time.
It's up there, but
then like Boys to Men's out there, like there's every time
Heat
now,
Sweat.
deadass. Every time I think of like a dope white boy band or white artist, I'm like, there was a hotter black dude out there killing that shit way better than them.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like this guy invented the refrigerator. I'm like, well, there was probably a black dude who invented the refrigerator before that motherfucker invented.
You know what's crazy though? A lot of the songs that we love, like R&B songs from the 90s, are ripoffs of R&B songs from like the 60s and 70s. It's crazy.
A lot of those shits, really?
A lot of those songs that we from our childhood, 90s, early 2000s, they're recycling beats from like the 60s and 70s of like the original R&B artists.
Yeah, fuck like history and nostalgia and shit. Like I've got some memorabilia on my wall from sporting events that like, I guess, I don't know, because I know we got to get off, but I wrestle with that because sports is almost different where it's like I've got a memory from maybe like a Knicks game or something that, you know, I got a picture of John Starks dunking and that's sort of cool. But I think it's different when it comes to like some political shit where it's like you're tied to a memory that really fucked a lot of people over. But in reality, like John Stark fucked over Mad Bulls fans by dunking that ball. So I'm sort of like not.
It's hard to get attached politically because you'll always be let down at some point.
Yeah, man.
Like Bernie Sanders stuff. Like, yeah, I love Bernie, but he always disappoints me now. So, like, what am I going to do? Rock his bumper sticker and be like, yay.
I know. Fuck, man. Just stop being racist, people, and stop caring about fucking history.
And keep wearing a mask, man. This coronavirus is not gone. I see people. I'm driving myself crazy looking at all these. Like, you got conservatives who are literally like going to go to the Trump rally. There's no masks, no social distancing, no nothing. But then you also keep it real. We got the protests going on right now, and I see people at these Black Lives Matter protests. Nobody's wearing a mask, and they're right next to each other. And I'm like, you do know we still have a freaking pandemic, right?
Well, yeah, I saw New York City. Down on like whatever street, there's a bunch of bars and shit. There was mad people in the street. But the thing is though, is like New York's opening up their phases. So it's like, I think we spoke about this. It's like we've gotten to a point where it's just like, fuck this shit. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. If you're old, be the fuck careful.
That's exactly what happened. At some point, everybody was just like, we're done.
Yeah. Like every day it used to be on the news. The mayor, I don't even know the lady's name in Chicago. Fuck. Lightfoot. She would come on, she would say the cases, and there'd be the dude doing the sign language behind her, and he would really get into that shit. Molly got mad at me because I was like, we sort of got a G-ass sign language person. She was like, that's sort of fucked up. I was like, he gets into it. Some of the sign language people really fucking make that shit. Like, there's good sign language people, then there's bad sign language people.
Remember when like Obama was giving a speech, or maybe it was Trump, I don't remember, and like there was a sign language person next to him who wasn't really doing sign language.
That happened so many times. There was one in like Tampa or something. It was like a murder, like some serious ass shit. And everybody
was like, how the hell did you get that close to the president? Like, what the hell? The Secret Service had no idea. They're like, oh, that's just a sign language guy.
They're just doing the wrong ass shit. That's sort of. I got mad respect for someone who would really apply for that job
That
and
is
then
hilarious,
totally
isn't it?
not fucking do it.
So funny.
Oh, but
They're
yeah,
up
no,
there-
that's my. They stopped reporting on cases going up, and now
Everything.
Florida's going up, Arizona's going
Florida's
up.
going up. Arizona's going up. Texas is going up.
Molly's shook. I'm to a point where it's just like, if you wear a mask and you're out and you could sort of keep distance, then why can't you be out?
Oh yeah, I agree. If you're just keeping distance is good, but if you're out and wearing a mask, like every time I go to the grocery store, I still have a mask, and everybody else still has it here, and like that is keeping their like New York has been declining for a hot minute, and I think it's because of all the masks.
You just make it mandatory to wear a mask, like
That's
forever.
what they did. That's what they did in New York.
Yeah, like I don't see people really getting the shit if everyone's wearing a mask.
In New York, we've been declining for a long time, and I think it's because everybody's wearing a mask.
That's what I'm saying. And at first I was sort of on the like a mask is some like weak shit. But like at the end of the day, who the fuck cares? Like if you know, like
if everybody's wearing it, it's not weak. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Just make it a fucking federal law. That's what the Supreme Court should be fucking doing right now. Wait, but they're all old as fuck, so like they don't give a fuck. They're all isolated. No one even knows where they live and shit like that. Like that's what they should be ruling on right now is like just make everybody wear a fucking mask.
All right, on that note, we love you guys.
Fuck the Supreme Court.
We'll talk to you soon. Stay healthy out there. Peace.